third grade friends. I hope you enjoyed the PowerPoint about the Ndebele people of South Africa. We're going to actually try to make our own inspired Ndebele home today, and I'm going to show you the steps needed to create it. The first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need one piece of copy paper from your printer, and there is a link to a couple resources that you can print out. One is some visual examples of the geometric patterns that you can use to inspire your design when you create your home. And the second one is a template that you can use to make the roof of your home if you would need it. So to get started, we're going to put these other resources aside for a minute. And what I want you to do is I want you to fold your piece of paper in half, but I want you to place it horizontally. So we are going to do a hot dog fold, which means it's the skinny, we're folding the paper the skinny way. So what you're going to do is you're just going to line up the corners like so. You're going to hold the paper with your left hand. Remember this from last week. We're going to push down with our pointer finger. We're swiping right and we're swiping left. Sometimes if you don't get it exactly right, you can also kind of reline it up if you need to, and then push down and fold again. Just a little tidbit. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to take this folded piece of paper and we are going to take our scissors and we are going to cut it in half like so. This half we are going to set aside for later, and this half we are going to use to create the base of our home. Ultimately, we are going to be creating it into a cylinder, but before we do that, we are going to take some time and decorate the outside part of the house. So you have a couple options when it comes to creating your house. And what you can do is you can use these printouts for inspiration, and you can look at how some of the geometric patterns are created. I kind of started an example here, and what I did first is this is kind of an easy thing that you can do for the first step, is you want to find the middle of the paper. So what I like to do is just fold over the edges. I'm not going to fold it all the way. What I'm going to do is just give it a little pinch and this down here. And then I kind of have an idea of this is the middle of my paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a doorway first. This is the part where the roof will start. So I don't need to go up quite as far as the very top. And it's up to you how you want to create your door. Typically, I think the doors are a little bit rounded, and if it's not exactly how you want it, you can kind of adjust it and then kind of erase the edges. Another thing, I find it's easier sometimes to draw a curved line if you turn the paper on your side. So here's my door. And then what you can do is you can draw a series of horizontal lines spaced at different widths apart to sort of give you a framework to create your designs. If you don't have a ruler, you can get sort of maybe a piece of cardboard or something else that has a little bit more of a, here I have this sort of cardboard envelope, and what you can do is you can line it up so that you see that, oh, there's about an even amount of space between here and there, and then you can draw your line. You can also just eyeball it. It's not really a big deal if your lines are not exactly straight. So maybe for my next set of lines, I'm just going to try to take my time and draw the line as straight as I can. So those are some options for you. I'm going to draw one more I'm going to leave a bigger space here. And again, I'm kind of lining it up so I see that there's equal space between these. And then I'm going to draw a line here, and I'm going to draw a line there. And I'm just going to make this top line a little bit darker, so hopefully you guys, can see that line. Once I have my horizontal lines, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some vertical lines. So I'm just going to leave a little space in between. And you can even draw lines under your horizontal lines if you would like to. And maybe I'm going to make this into an area of bigger rectangles. This one, maybe I'm going to make these more vertical. So once you get your strip divided into sections, then you can start thinking about the geometric patterns that you want to draw. In this particular instance, I made 2 rectangles on either side of this doorway, and then I filled them with patterns so that the same pattern on either side. I could still do this on this example if I drew up like this, and then I'm going to move over and draw down like this. So what you can do is you can take a minute and you can study some of the examples if you would like to sort of model some of your designs after the Ndebele patterns. I'm looking here and I'm seeing a lot of, it's a rectangle with sort of a triangle taken out of the middle part. I see some circles. I see more triangles over here. I see some rectangles. So what you can do is you can just, there's another design that's particularly popular where I think you can see it here, where they kind of make like these steps. And I can show you a strategy for doing that. If you want, you can just draw a horizontal line. Then when you come up, you're going to start a little bit over. So the next horizontal line is not going over as far. And then what you can do is, this is the top line. So what I'm doing is I'm going to go over a little bit further like that. So then I can come down here like that. And then I can come down there like that. Or it's almost, you can also do it by just stacking rectangles on top of each other. Or you could even just draw, if you wanted to, you could divide it up by making a stair like that. And then maybe I'm going to go like that. You can also, if you draw diagonal lines, then that allows you to divide. And then you can draw shapes within shapes. We talked about that when we were doing our foil hearts earlier in the year. You can also, if you draw, let's see up here, if I draw a rectangle like this, and then I draw triangles coming in, then I get this kind of shape here. And then what you can do is you can take your eraser and just erase off these ends here. Now, so this is one way that you can do it. Another way that you can do it is that we know that the Ndebele people drew from inspiration, and they decorated their homes based on celebrations or prayers that they were offering up, or even just to show off their talent. So if you have an idea of how you want to decorate your house that is different from the geometric patterns, that is totally okay too. So you kind of have some different options. Once you get all of your patterns or drawings completed in pencil, then it will be time to add all of the bright colors that are characteristic of these homes. So if you have markers, this would be a time to break out your markers. If you don't have markers and you only have crayons, that's okay too. And if you only have colored pencils, that's okay too. So you can kind of choose what medium you want to use. And let's say you don't have anything to give color to this. It can still look really good, because what you can do is you can just, even using your pencil, you can make some lines darker and thicker than others. So I'm just taking my pencil and making these lines here thicker and darker, and then I'm going to outline this triangle, and then I'm just going to lightly shade it in with my pencil. So you could make this look really nice using just dark and light values with a pencil. So no worries if you don't have anything to color with at your house. Just going to go over this. If you do have stuff to color with your house, great. If you have crayons that have a sharp tip, that can help you outline around your patterns, because these are, one of the characteristics of these patterns is the thick black outline. But let's say all your crayons have really dull points. Then maybe you want to either use your marker or your colored pencil. Markers or colored pencils is up to you. So here I'm going to grab a black marker. And what I will do is I'm going to first just outline all of the patterns that I drew. I'll just do a few to give you an example. And then once they are outlined, and see these light lines that I have in here, I can then just take my eraser, erase those away. Once they're outlined, then you can take other markers or crayons or colored pencils, and you can color in, try this one. You can color in. Purple is one of my favorite colors, so I think I'm going to use some purple in my design. This could be even be an exercise where you guys review your what we learned about color theory earlier this year, and you could combine complementary colors if you remember them. So if I colored this with purple, who remembers what purple's complement is? Dun, 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 dun. I'm waiting. And someone yells out, yellow! And the crowd goes crazy. Ah! So complementary colors look nice together. But more so, I just want you guys to even just relax and have fun, and maybe not even think about it too much. Just kind of let yourself create and really enjoy decorating the whole this whole piece of paper, so that you'll be ready then to construct the rest of your house. Once you have your house completely designed the way you want it, the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to cut out this doorway so that we have an entrance into the home. And I'm just turning my paper, rotating my paper around and cutting away that doorway. Once you have that done, then you're going to take your glue stick and you're going to, you know, my glue stick is really low. Here's a tip: if your glue stick is low, you can just kind of scrape away some of the glue with your nail. And then I know it's messy and sticky, but you can, what I'm going to do is I have my paper now turned over, so it's on the back. And I'm just going to, with my finger, since my glue stick is kind of out of commission, is smear just a thin strip of glue along that edge. And then I'm going to bring it over to this edge. And I'm just going to overlap, not a lot, but enough so that it's at least I have enough to, I don't know if you can see, it's just about 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm just going to rub it with my fingers. And now you can see I have a cylinder, but it does not have a roof. So for the next step, what I'm going to do is just set this aside. And I recall that I printed out a roof pattern, and this size circle will fit onto this size piece of paper. So you will take your scissors and you're just going to cut out the circle. And then to turn it into a roof that we can put on top of the house, what you're going to do is you're going to, we're cutting, this is actually, I believe, the radius of the circle. So we're just cutting from the edge to the center point of this circle, like that. And then what we're going to do is we are just going to give this a fold. And as we fold it, you can see it's forming this cone shape. So you can kind of see how much you want to fold it. If this triangle, so we're kind of like forming a triangle. The smaller the triangle, the wider the roof is. But the bigger the triangle, then the tighter the roof is. So I kind of found a spot that I like for the roof. But before I actually glue it, I wanted to give you some options for adding color to the roof. One of the options could be that you color the roof before you actually put it onto, before we actually glue it, because it'll be hard to draw onto it once we glue it. So one option can be that you make it look like it has sort of texture and that it's made from kind of the twigs and branches, like in some of the pictures of the traditional homes. So what I'm doing is I'm starting at this center circle and I'm drawing lines out, and I'm just kind of turning the circle as I draw the lines out. And I can keep going until I get all the way around. Once I get all the way around and I like it, then I can glue it. Another option could be that instead of using marker, you could use crayons. You could color lightly first. So you could cover the whole area with the crayon, but I'm just using very light pressure to give a light value. And then I could press harder over top of the light value to get a darker value to kind of give it a little more texture that way. So that's an option. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to swipe a little bit of this glue stick out. So there is glue still when the glue stick, and then in this triangular area, I'm going to put the glue stick. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it around until I get to a point that I like it. I'm going to bring my house back over here, and I can see, yeah, I kind of like that. All right. Now there's one other fun thing that you can do to make your house, the roof of your house, look really cool and to give it this kind of papery texture. And what you can do is, I mentioned that we have this other half sheet of paper that we had when we were creating the house. And what you can do is, before you cut it into strips, you could actually color the whole thing. So you could kind of do what we were talking about earlier, but we're going to be cutting it into long strips. So I want to make my lines kind of going this way. So I could add texture to the whole strip if I wanted to. Again, I could do the crayon thing where I just color it. I could also just color it with marker. Maybe I don't want it to have texture. Maybe I just want to color it solidly. Another option is you could mix your colors of markers, or you might even say, you know what? I don't want to use brown. I want to use other cool colors. Maybe I want it to be a rainbow roof. So why not, right? So once you get this all decorated how you want it, then what you're going to do is you're going to cut it into some strips. The strips do not have to be exact, but what I'm going to do is probably divide it into threes. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it and I'm cutting one strip, and then I'm cutting a second strip. And now I have these 3 strips just like that. All right, now you're going to give yourself a little bit of a scissor workout, and what you're going to do is you're going to start at one end and you're just going to kind of fringe the paper. So I'm just making chomps. I'm making sure that I'm not chomping all the way up, because if I did, then I would be cutting the paper into pieces. So I'm just giving these chomps. You can vary the space of the chomps. It's a good little workout for your fingers. And you're going to chomp up all 3 pieces of paper. So now I kind of have this cool fringe, and you can kind of like bend it a little bit. And then what you're going to do is you're actually going to cut it into smaller pieces. So I'm just going to kind of divide it up. And you might say, well, why do we cut it into smaller pieces? The reason is that it makes it easier to kind of make it, glue it around in a circular manner if we cut these pieces a little bit smaller. So there we go. So then what you'll do is you'll take your pieces and you're going to turn them over, and you're going to put a little bit of glue on the flat side. So once again, I'm just going to take a little bit of glue. I'm going to spread it on there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to, in this case, you're going to start at the very bottom and you're going to glue your pieces all the way around the bottom edge. Then once you go around the bottom, then you're going to start the second row. And this time, that row is going to be a little bit above the first row, so that the fringe overlap the top of this one. And then you're just going to keep going. I'll take this next one. And you can kind of overlap the edges. Now, of course, if these were all colored in the same way, it would look probably a little bit better. And then I'm going to take, I think now all I have left is my rainbow, which is fine. And so I'm just going to spread a little bit of glue. And what you'll do is you will keep working your way around, all the way back around till you meet up with where you started before. And then I will start another row and I will glue up. So it looks like then I will go around, and then this will be my final row that'll go around the top. And it will look really cool and to have the fringe, if that's something that you want to take the time to do, if you have the time. If you don't have the time, it's okay. You can do like what I demonstrated, and you can just do it this way. Another thing that you could do also, just to make it a little fancier, is you could just fringe the edge of this and then kind of fold it up and around. And then when you go to put it on your house, it kind of looks like that. So I hope you have fun. If you want to share your artwork with me, I would love to see it. You can stop by during office hours and you can show me in person. Or if you want to have your parents take a picture of your artwork and send it to me, I would love it. I loved seeing and talking to all the friends who checked in with me last week. So keep making art, and I hope to see you soon.